now we have the privilege of hearing from Mr. Dilip Sani, who's the Managing Director of Rockwell Automation India. Mr. Sani is a leader whose vision and expertise have been instrumental in advancing the manufacturing sector transformation both in India and globally. With his deep understanding of industrial automation and cybersecurity, he has consistently championed the integration of innovative technologies to build resilient and secure manufacturing ecosystems. So, we'd like to hear from you, sir, now.
Manufacturing assumes a lot greater significance because not only is it very critical to support India's vision to become top three economy globally, in the near term, but we need manufacturing because it has the biggest leverage in terms of jobs creation, right? So resilience, job creation, aspirations to become top three economy, all of those factors, manufacturing has to evolve, but it has to evolve in a very, very complex and a very competitive global environment, right? And that's where, the relevance of Industry 4.0, 5.0, we heard Mr. Godse talk about, digital is making itself very, very relevant to this dialogue. Why? Because it is giving manufacturers and businesses, an ability to cut through this complexity. It's giving them visibility across the entire end-to-end value chain so that you can really see forward and backwards and see where the bottlenecks are and how you're going to be able to deal with them. You can model things in the virtual world before you try them out in the real world so that you can implement things, decisions with much greater confidence and much lower risk for things to go wrong, right? So it's becoming very, very relevant. It's going to be core and central on how future manufacturing strategies would be evolved. And again, as is the case with every new technology, early adopters would have advantages. They also carry some risk, but the advantage of being able to gain that competitive edge and being able to scale up and being able to reach your markets faster gives you an enormous amount of advantage. Business models are evolving very, very rapidly around us. Now, as you include more and more digital and as you become much more dependent on these new contemporary technologies, the risk profile also goes up, right? So the need for us to be very aware and very mindful about cybersecure practices, not just on the enterprise side, but on the factory side, which we often call as the OT environment, which has its own nuances, complexities. You would very commonly find assets in the OT environment which are, a decade or more older, right? So they are of a vintage which doesn't lend itself very well to contemporary, cybersecurity practices, patching, etc., etc. And oftentimes you don't even know what the lay of the land is. So balancing all of these factors become very, very key for manufacturers as they think about becoming competitive at a national scale and competitive as India integrates itself into global value chains, right? And then there are other factors which manufacturing industry has to really be very, very mindful of. We are operating in an environment where sustainability considerations are becoming very, very important. A less appreciated fact is when you have root surprises like security breaches, particularly in the manufacturing environment, you tend to produce a lot of waste where there's a lot of energy that has already been expended, right? And in order to deal with that waste, you need to spend even more effort and energy. So the carbon footprint of cybersecurity breaches is something which has been, which requires a greater degree of focus and understanding. But first and foremost, let's recognize that manufacturing infrastructure, sometimes you have mission critical applications where there would be outright safety implications of cybersecurity. So protection of critical infrastructure becomes very, very critical. Making sure that operational efficiency is not compromised, also calls for cybersecurity to be given a lot or its due importance in the consideration. And like I said, making sure that, we link the cybersecurity postures with the with favorable environmental footprints that manufacturers want to leave behind, right? So those are some very, very important considerations. So once again, just to sum this whole thing up, I think this matter is of critical consideration, and I'm so glad that we have the kind of brain trust that is assembled there in the room today to spend quality time in discussing this matter. Would have loved to be there in person. That was the plan, but I'm joining you today from Pune. There was a business exigency that really mandated my presence to be here. But I'm so appreciative that my colleague Inba has flown in from Singapore to be with you all. So, with those few words, Bhupesh, I'm going to hand it over back to you, please.
Thank you, sir. I think you have rightly mentioned everything which I wanted to summarize. In fact, you have covered it all. You have mentioned how, and since we live in the digital disrupted world, why OT IT convergences will be more important going forward, and why this data transition will be very important, and we have to be very resilient in this environment. Being in the manufacturing sector, a lot of IoTs is going to come up. You also mentioned about the environmental social governance part of it, wherein we are contributing to the environment. So when we talk about Industry 5.0, it's something human and machines will be working together. They will be working in a sustainable environment, and at the same time, the environment has to be resilient. So this is the future. I think you rightly mentioned CBAM is definitely something is coming up, which will be a challenge for the world in terms of the green environment that we have to maintain. So I think we'll love to meet you in person going forward. So thanks for your kind words.